Alright, here goes. Welcome back to the group chat of Waffle. This is the second episode of the group chat of Waffle podcast. You are joined by only three of us this week. Me, Jack, and Charlie and Abby. If you two just want to say hello.
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 Basically, Reese was meant to join us, but I don't know what's happened with him. Ed may join later on. Hold on, I'm going to burp again. Jesus. And Cody and Lewis are not feeling very well, and Tom is doing his own thing.
Jack
Tom's doing his
failed
own
the
thing,
McDonald's test.
and I failed the McDonald's test. I had a McDonald's just before recording, and I'm burping like no one's business. Anyway, this one is obviously the second episode. If you watched the first episode, I just want to say thank you so much. We hit over 160 streams on all platforms, which for our first episode is mind-boggling. It's brilliant. It's great, and I can't thank you guys enough. What are your thoughts then? You two?
Oh, well, it's pretty good really, because we didn't expect it to pick up as much as it did. Obviously, as you could tell, like we were quite nervous, especially at the beginning, just because none of us has any experience whatsoever in doing this type of media. So
yeah, it's.
I think having like people on Twitter already know us and supporting us, it really did come off as like a wow.
Yeah, it's been absolutely magnificent, the support. I'm gonna burp again. What the fuck? Oh, fucking hell. Sorry, pardon me. You may hear me burping because obviously I had a McDonald's beforehand, and a Coke Zero really does. Let's say make you burp. Anyway, Abby, what are your thoughts?
Well, I tried to get as many people to listen to the podcast as possible, and the feedback that I got was nothing but positive. Just, oh, like Jack's voice is so smooth, and y'all really have good, dialogue. And actually, when I went when I went to go speak to my flatmate's boyfriend, he actually said that he'd heard of us, which is really insane to hear from someone like in person that he has heard of our podcast before because he's on Twitter. So it was pretty cool to hear that. And
How's he heard of us?
he's on Twitter.
What's his art?
I I didn't ask, but he was like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of them lads. Yeah."
What the
Like
hell?
I like he was saying that he used to do podcasts and that he heard of us, and I was speaking to him about the podcast, and I'm like, yeah, this is our podcast, Great Trip to Waffle, and he's like, yeah, I've heard of them. So yeah, that was a really cool experience this week.
That's actually pretty cool. Well, shout out to him then. Anyway, Charlie's been moved into general. Anyway, yeah, Charlie was just moved into the general voice chat then. But anyway, he's back.
Oh, sorry about that. Just had to kick my Sky router. No, everything's working again.
Anyway, so yeah, that's insane to hear. Abby's flatmate's boyfriend's heard of us before we even released our first episode, I'm guessing. So yeah, that's insane to hear. Anyway, so I just want to thank everyone who's listened. Your support is brilliant. It's some of the kind tweets. We even had some constructive criticism, which is what we need. It's obviously I did have someone DM me with some criticism, and then proceeded to say, "Oh, can you get me on?" I'm like, "No, don't even know who you are." Anyway, so that's not particularly. That wasn't particularly a great feedback to get. But yeah, it's been positive, and I love it, and it's great, and all the tweets I've come in, all the messages I've had have been absolutely wonderful, and I just can't thank all you guys enough. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this one. I'm just gonna discuss some of the topics we are gonna touch on today. Okay, I'm gonna burp again. Fucking hell. Right, so basically, some of the topics we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about last week's football, which we touched upon last week. Obviously, Preston played Blackburn. More on that in a minute. Fulham played Everton. He also played Burnley last night. I'm going to play it again. Oh, for God's sake. Cody's West Brom played Man United. And Villa played, was it Brighton?
Brighton, yeah, it was 0-0.
Yeah. So basically, and obviously we're going to discuss a tweet that has been causing quite controversial stuff. Mainly because it's fucking stupid. And also, I don't know how to say this. You're going to be getting quite a big rant today, talking about the Australian songwriter, singer, Sia's new film, Music. And obviously, to end on a positive note, I've got something to talk about at the end, which has literally just happened. And so I hope you stick around, and I hope you enjoy this episode. So anyway, first things first, let's talk about the football. So starting off with
Derby.
The Lancashire Derby. Some would say I was wrong, and some would say I was right. I was right about Adam Armstrong scoring, but I definitely wasn't right about us winning.
Yeah, that's pretty good though, wasn't it? I mean, Blackburn, they were poor on the day, I've got to be honest, but like still, you good counter-attack inside, and you kept them out for most of the game.
Yeah, it was. We started off very strong, and we seem to have dominated the midfield, and their defense never really got settled. They looked very shaky, loads of mistakes. Even their goalkeeper came out like 2 or 3 times. It seemed like the goalkeeper didn't trust the defense at all, and it was starting to get. You could sense that there were nerves from Blackburn, and it's making me think: how the fuck did we lose the home tie? Like the first game, how did we lose it? Mainly, I mean, now looking back, we were poor, we were dejected, and we just weren't up for it. But this game, it's the opposite. We were absolutely up for it. You could tell it meant something to their players this time round. And with players like Ben Pearson, and I'm not going to say Ben Davis never cared. He did care, but with these new players like Ben Whiteman, Ryan Ledson, who's not new, but new into the team basically, like Ben Whiteman, Ryan Ledson, Liam Lindsay, Ched Evans. Ched Evans was brilliant. Like all of these new signings and these new players that have come into the fold this season have been absolutely magnificent, and you could tell it meant something to them. Like, I'm not gonna say Ben Pearson never cared, but you could tell that he started to not truly care.
And
one thing that they don't tell you about living with a Preston fan is that when they score, you're going to get ear-shattering cheers.
I know, yeah. So basically, me, Charlie, were on a Discord call along with Cody as well, and Abby was in the room whilst I was watching it, and we were all watching the game together. And you could say that I got a bit too happy, and I just want to talk about the man Greg Cunningham, who I'm going to get onto later about something else. His first start for the club, his first game for the club since he left in, I'm going to say June 2018. He went to Cardiff. Man, that ball, I think it might have been July actually, but the ball that was played to him by Alan Brown on the right, just whipped it across to him on the left, and then out. I think it just creeps inside the box. He just twats it with his left foot, and it goes into the bottom corner. And when I say that, I never expected that to go in, because Kaminsky is actually a really good goalkeeper. He's probably one of the best keepers in the Championship, if not the best. I never really expected that to go in, and the fact that it went in, I was in utter disbelief. And then I think from then on, because that goal came so early, we seem to have just controlled it. controlled the first half. We never we really nullified Blackburn's attacking prowess, and their defense and midfield was very shaky. And we started to dominate them in the midfield, and I feel like that's where games are won, in the midfield. And I've never really seen a dominant midfield performance like that in ages. So I'm so glad we won that. And then obviously, I hate to be rambling on still, like, but the second goal, beautiful cross by Ryan Letson into Liam Lindsay, who just heads it in. You know, Liam Lindsay's been outstanding in the past 2 games. He's really, like, I think, obviously this is a man who's not played a competitive game for over a year, and he's coming in like he's been here for like years. He's been sensational in the past 2 games. Yeah, we lost to Watford, but he was still solid, and it was a dodgy pen against Watford.
Yeah, very, very soft, if not at all. But I would say overall, it was a pretty good performance. Well, then Brad Potts came on, and then I lost interest in the game.
But yeah, staying on the Blackburn game, the penalty, it was clever from Sam Gallagher to go down. Andrew Hughes perhaps shouldn't have stuck his leg out, but Sam Gallagher made sure to get contact, and they got a pen, and Adam Armstrong scored it. And then the second half, the way we should have put the game to bed in the second half, early in the second half, really annoyed me. And we even had a disallowed goal because it deflected off Ched Evans.
Oh.
I think it deflected off Ched Evans. Brad Potts shot outside the box. It deflected off Ched Evans, went in. And it got disallowed because it was offside. Which was fair enough, but we should have put the game to bed earlier. And Blackburn really started to ramp up the pace and the intensity. And when I say that I got nervous, oh, I was shaking. And when Bradley Dack put the ball in the back of the net, I thought it was over. I thought, you know what, it's going to stay a draw. And that got disallowed, and I was so ecstatic.
I mean, at the back throughout the entire match that I watched, I mean, I'm obviously not watching that much Championship football this year, but I've heard of Adam Armstrong because of the transfer windows and him being a prolific goal scorer.
Yeah.
But then I watched Blackburn. I didn't know how, I'm not sure if this is just for this one game or just for the entire season, but at the back, they just looked really, really dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Like,
Blackburn have,
no communication.
I think they have one of the worst defensive records in the league. I don't know. I think they do, because I remember when they were winning games at the start of the season, they were still conceding quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always confident that we'd threaten them, and I thought we'd perform better than we did in the last game, but I never thought we'd perform this well. But, you know, obviously Blackburn brought on Terry Stolen, who looked like he was going to cause something, and then, I mean, I went to high school with the bloke, so I'm not really going to lambast him. I don't really think he offered too much. Harvey Elliott looked good for Blackburn though, I would say, but he did try to do too much. I felt like his lack of experience really came in there. But,
yeah.
You know, Blackburn performed well in the last 15 to 10 minutes of the game, but they really couldn't get anything because we were just solid defensively. We made sure to keep it tight, keep it, you know, just nullify any sort of attacking prowess they had. And we defended deep, low block. And yeah, it paid off, and I'm so glad we won that game, because I couldn't stand Blackburn doing the double over us.
I'd say you're a better, well-rounded team in terms of, like, I feel like Blackburn, from what I saw, they're too top-heavy in the sense of they've got an outstanding counter-attack in that team, but in terms of the defence, it's just not... That's like lower half of the table defence compared to like a top-half playoffs attack.
Yeah, and the thing is though, I know Blackburn are a good side. I'm not gonna beat around the bush here. They're a good side, and I genuinely thought they'd probably beat us again, but this 5-back formation with the new players in it, and Greg Cunningham back in the side, and Brown back in the team, obviously with being injured, you know, signed a new deal, now the club captain. You could sense that we were really up for it. And I just want to give a shout out to Ched Evans. I know he's probably not going to be listening, but I'm not gonna bullshit or anything, but I genuinely wasn't impressed with us signing him, mainly on a moral and footballing front. You know, the stuff he did in his life, he's been cleared innocent. He's been declared innocent, and I don't want to get into this, but it did sort of affect my judgment on him. Like with him being guilty and then innocent, it did affect my judgment on him. And then on a footballing front, I thought he was no good for the championship. But he's come in, absolutely. He's a grafter, and I love him. And he's got an instinct about him. And he probably should have scored twice against Watford. Yeah, but you know you can't score every game. And Ched Evans, he's a real workhorse, and I'm so glad we've signed him now. He's really making me eat my own words. I'm so glad for it. He's probably the one signing that I wasn't really impressed with in a long time supporting North End. But, good on him. Absolutely good on him. I'm so glad he's doing well.
Yeah.
Anyway, just want to introduce Tom, who's joined the call. You want to come close to your mic, mate?
Yeah, sorry, I'm on my phone, so again, that's my excuse for more in case my audio is poor. But
yeah, anyway, Tom's here now, and
yeah,
talking of
good to be
Tom,
back on the cast, and just readings.
Yeah, talking of Tom, we're gonna get on to Fulham now.
Yeah.
Charlie,
Yeah.
you can lead on this one.
Yes.
Alright, well, I'll do like a warning disclaimer. My connectivity is currently not very good, so if I do suddenly cut out, that's why. But yeah, moving on to the Premier League. It was a game where going into it, we had Madja starting for the first time because he came on as a sub against West Ham in that 0-0 draw. But we went into the Everton game. I've got to be honest, my optimism was an extreme low because we haven't really looked like a side that can score a couple of goals and then take points away from a really top side like Everton. But then Madja proves me wrong, turns up, scores 2 goals, and we go away with a clean sheet and 3 points, which makes a change from your average. Yeah, it makes a change from the average 0-0 or 1-1 draw.
Yeah. I saw it was the first goal. That attacking play from the left hand side between Ademola Lookman and Ola Aina. I don't know how you say his name. Aina.
Yeah.
Basically, that attacking play down the left hand side was brilliant. And Madja had that positioning and instinct to be in that right place at the right time. So what are your thoughts, Tom?
Yeah, exactly that.
Oh, you keep cutting out, mate.
Another player I would like to give a massive shout out to, who I've been raving about all season. God's sake, massive shout out to after that win, Harrison Reed, because every time I've seen him play this season, I thought he's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
And when we got him, I always backed him. Well, when we got him on a permanent, that is, I've always backed him to make that step up to the Premier League without too many issues. And for me, he's done just that. And I think if we stay up, I think he's going to be one of our best midfielders at this club for years to come.
Yeah, I remember when he first came through at Southampton, and I was very surprised that he went to you guys on loan in the Championship. Yeah. I always thought he'd end up being Championship fodder, if I'm being honest. I always thought he'd end up being a Championship player, but he's really stepped up, and he probably should have scored before Madja tapped it in.
Yeah,
I've seen that shot just hit the post, and he looks really comfortable, and he looks he looks strong on the ball, and he genuinely looks like he bosses a midfield, which is really good to see. And your midfield's looking really good at the moment with Harrison Reed and Zambo and Gisa. And yeah, I mean Loftus-Cheek was all right, wasn't he? I guess. Yeah. I mean, he's.
I think obviously because he had that injury, it's all about getting himself back up to full fitness. But yeah, I think there's definitely a player in there, but he's been pretty frustrating.
And pretty frustrating at times. Yeah. Go on,
Yeah.
Charlie.
Yes, well, he's coming back, as Tom said, he's coming back from injury. But for me, it's a thing of if we're fighting to stay up in the Prem and we're almost near at the end of the season, we need to start focusing on players that are doing it now rather than later.
Yeah.
So with Loftus-Cheek, it's more of a waiting game, really, which I feel like even if he goes back to Chelsea after we go down or if we stay up, because I don't see him sticking with us, to be honest, but I wouldn't mind if he goes back to Chelsea. But even then, I feel like he's just going to be a bench player at Chelsea because for now, I think for the even at our level of being in a relegation battle, he's not cutting it for me in our midfield. So I doubt
Yeah.
if he would fit in a midfield at Chelsea over like Havertz and Kovacic.
Yeah, he's I think Loftus-Cheek has
And
really.
Conte.
I think obviously he's not really fulfilled his potential, has he? And
No,
Shame because I've liked him when he was on loan at Crystal Palace in the 17-18. Because I think he played a bit because at the start of that season, Palace went goalless. But I think I think Zaha, without disrespect, he Zaha and Milivojevic have all played a crucial part in them staying up.
and obviously, yeah, because those performances for Crystal Palace is what got him called up to the World Cup squad. And obviously,
Yeah.
he had his goal nicked, to say the least, by Harry Kane, even though it was for his hat trick. And without that, he would never have. I don't think he would have equalled the was it the most goals at a World Cup by an Englishman? I think he got, but he was the third.
Yeah.
Obviously, without that, he would not have been the third Englishman to have scored a hat trick at a World Cup. And
Yeah.
obviously, there is a player in Ruben Loftus-Cheek, and I have liked him because even in the 18-19 season under Maurizio Sarri at Chelsea, in the Europa League, he was outstanding.
Yeah.
He's probably Chelsea's best player until Eden Hazard played one game in the final and somehow got player of the tournament.
Mm.
And Ruben Loftus-Cheek is definitely there's a great player in him, but I just don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah.
Are you confident?
I don't think
Are you too confident that he'll stay up? You'll stay up.
I think we have a chance now. Obviously, the Tuesday game against Burnley was not ideal because
I mean, it's a point
think it was
against a really tough, solid team who don't really give you a
Yeah.
lot of chances.
yeah, I mean they frustrate. I mean Burnley are a frustrating side. Not about disrespect. I think Burnley are one of the more without saying that they're dirty. I think they can be a little bit frustrating to play against. But I think sometimes you're going to need that if you're going to need teams like that in the league. Say what you want about them, but again,
Yeah,
I think you're going to need that. You're going to need a team that adds that extra bit of physicality and
yeah, and make
try and get into the
a
opposition's
team that
heads.
really makes you scared to go to their place.
Yeah,
Because Burnley,
It's really
you're leaving
intimidating.
with you're leaving with cuts and bruises. They're a
Yeah.
tough team, and I like
Yeah,
Burnley
exactly.
simply because of what they add to the Premier League. And all these top six fans on Twitter will try and criticize them because they're anti-football and all that. But I just think they belong in the Premier League because they add something and they go against the norm.
Mm. Yeah, and Sean Dyche has done a fantastic job with them because they're on a pretty. I think they've got like the lowest budget amongst the lowest budgets in the league
Yeah,
compared to majority of Premier League, and he's kept them up every single season, despite the fact that we've had so many people predicting for them to go down every season.
yeah.
All credit where it's due.
So Charlie, are you confident you'll stay up?
I wouldn't say I'm confident, but I wouldn't say I'm completely down and out. We're completely down and out. I'd say it really. If we need to win at against Sheffield United. Like there is no question about it. The bottom side in the league, they've got the worst attack in the league. If we cannot beat them, we cannot expect to stay in the league. It's
Yeah,
that simple.
yeah.
We need a win.
Yeah.
And obviously, well, and I'll still say this, right? Because I said this to you, Charlie. Like Sheffield United, they may be bottom of the league, and but I still believe they're a pretty good team in a way. I still think that they've not got, for a team that's bottom, their defensive record isn't as bad as people make it out to be.
Mm.
Like I think teams like Crystal Palace and I think Burnley, I don't know actually. I think it was Crystal Palace, Newcastle, and all that. They've conceded way more than
Yeah.
Sheffield United. Sheffield United, there's still a good team in them.
Yeah.
It's
I
their
agree.
and it's their attacking. It's their attack. They're not very good going forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
They lack that sort of edge they had last season. That sort of shithousery they had about them last season.
Yeah.
The overlapping centre backs, they're still working, but they're not. The team's just not fully functioning.
Yeah.
They're not clinical enough.
Yeah, and you know what? If Sheffield United win the next 2 games, then who knows what can happen to them?
Yeah.
I think Newcastle losing to Chelsea's blown this relegation thing wide open now. It's giving you lot a bit of hope. And obviously, talking of another relegation team, West Brom got a really good point against Manchester United. That's a really good point. Although Man United should have probably won.
I may sound extremely biased, but I think the goal that they scored, West Brom, should have been disallowed.
Enough. Why?
Because if you look at how he scored the goal, he puts his hand over McTominay's, well, not McTominay's, Lindelof's face, so he physically cannot see where the ball is, and he's shoving him out of the way to head that in. And there's been many times in the past, especially in the Championship, which is supposed to be a more physical league, where Mitrovic has done the same thing, and the goals have been either disallowed or a ref's immediately blown for a foul.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, obviously it's gonna be classed as biased because they are relegation rivals, but I can see if that was us, then it would be disallowed. But I don't know. Referees this year haven't been that great.
Is it too late for a West Brom resurgence? Do you not think West Brom could perhaps pull a bit of good form together? Because they've got Sam Allardyce, anything can happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I wouldn't completely write them off, but it's not looking great. But the thing is, I think is good. I think I will say I do like Sam Allardyce as a manager. I mean, you don't have to agree with what I'm saying when I say this, but look at the jobs he has done by getting Bolton into the Premier League and making them briefly.
It was at the expense of Preston, but
yeah,
Bobby
true.
Zamora.
But the thing is,
fucking hell.
I think the thing is with what Sam Allardyce has done, he's obviously got Bolton Wanderers three or four consecutive top half finishes in the Premier League before they slowly went downhill.
Yeah.
And they then obviously didn't work out at Newcastle. Did all right at Blackburn and
he was harshly sacked
unlucky.
at Blackburn.
Yeah.
Because of the new owners, they sacked him and replaced him with Steve Keane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think sacking Allardyce is what sent them down. Obviously, got West Ham up, kept them up there for a good few years.
Yeah.
Kept Sunderland up in the 15-16 season.
And obviously he did pretty well with Crystal Palace before he went
he did.
And before he went and left them.
Yeah.
And then he went to Everton. Did all right, did the job that he needed to do. He steadied the ship, but he got sacked purely because of the football he played. And I mean, when you hire Sam Allardyce, you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't completely write him off, but I think it's looking unlikely they'll stay up. Anyway.
Yeah. I've had discussion with people and they've said that he'll probably resign just before they get confirmation to keep his record intact, possibly.
Yeah, that'll be a pretty shit house way to go out. Anyway,
yeah, that's football.
Yeah.
Anyway, so obviously we'll just touch on the Villa Brighton game. Lewis, who was on the podcast last week, he supports Villa. They drew 0-0 with Brighton, what seemed to be quite a dull game. But can we just? I just want to talk about one thing. Emi Martinez, best keeper in the league, or what?
He's a
Yeah.
fantastic keeper. I think he did well. Obviously, I didn't know that. Didn't think that prior to before last season, I didn't think he would necessarily make the cut at Premier League level. But he has completely proven me wrong. I mean, because look at how well he's done at Arsenal at the end of the 1920 season when Bernd Leno was out for the rest of.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
then
I remember when he was
he
on
went
loan
on.
at Reading, and he wasn't particularly great, but he wasn't particularly
yeah.
bad. I mean, he looked.
Yeah.
I thought he was always destined for something in the Championship, but again, he's
Yeah.
another one like I thought was going to be Championship fodder, like Harrison Reed, but
Yeah.
he's gone strength to strength. He's gone. You know, he's
Mm.
wonderful. What a great keeper he is. Probably Argentina's best keeper by a mile, but they'll still end up playing that Armani guy, who was not very good for them in the World Cup and the Copa America. Oh, your connection's going a bit, Tom.
Argentina just doesn't have a lot of good selection really when it comes to like the back part of the squad.
Yeah.
You know, the defense. You know, they've got. I mean, obviously, as you said the other day, up top they've got Dybala, they've got Aguero, Messi, obviously one of the best players of all time. And then you look at the back, and it's just Tagliafico is the only name that comes to mind, really.
Yeah, and
Emi Martinez.
Emi Martinez.
Yeah.
Yeah, great keeper, probably the best. I wouldn't say the best because I still believe, despite his performances as of recently, Alisson is still up there for me. I'd say Edison is probably joint first with him.
Yeah, I'd say Alisson this year his form of dip. He's still.
Yeah, he's still up there. But
Yeah.
I believe Edison's. I think Edison's probably been the best keeper in the league, in my opinion, this season. That or Emi Martinez. Emi Martinez and Edison have been the best this season for me. Anyway.
Yeah,
Wait, go on.
is one of the best for me personally. He's just like I'd put him at number one. Team of the season so far, he'd be in there.
Yeah, who was that again? Because you cut out.
Oh, sorry, Emi Martinez.
Fair enough.
Oh, I agree.
Anyway, we're going to move on to something else now because we've touched all the football and Abby's getting absolutely bored of us. Which I don't know actually. But anyway, we're going to move on to a tweet that surfaced on the timeline. And it's by an account called Get on Gab or Gab.com. Basically, ever since America, Republicans have not, let's say, haven't taken Joe Biden's victory too kindly.
No, they haven't.
There is obviously Abby, who's an American citizen. She's over here for uni. How well have the Republicans taken Joe Biden's victory?
Well, coming from, a Texan, we've gotten a lot of reports of fraud in the voting system, and a lot of Republicans got upset about that, which is part of the reason why we had the January 6th Capitol riots. And it's kind of frustrating to I imagine they're frustrated. I mean, they wholeheartedly believe that this happened, and then they went to court and they filed like over 40 lawsuits, and every single one of them was declined because no one could find any evidence. So then they got even more pissed off. So yeah, they weren't very happy. And from what I've seen in the same breath, they're blaming Biden for everything that's wrong, but they're also saying that he's not actually the president. So it's kind of confusing. But yeah, the numbers are scary when you look at it. But yeah, no, the Biden administration has ruffled a lot of feathers in the Republican community, especially since he's reversed. President Biden has reversed a lot of um, things that Trump originally put into the um, into place during his presidency, like the ban of transgendered people in the military. Biden recently reversed that, and a bunch of other things that are really progressive. And he stuck to his word, and I'm proud of Biden for that. No matter what your beliefs are, he at least he followed through with his word. Anyways, he's still getting a lot of backlash for it. So yeah, a good um it was not a good response. But yeah, because of this and a bunch of accusations about Facebook silencing Republican voices, which was just a claim. What was actually happening is Facebook censors fake claims. Like they'll literally fact check anything, and so they weren't very happy about that. So a couple of people have made quote free speech apps, social media apps, and you've probably heard of some of them. One of them is called Parler, Paler, and then there's what is it, Gab? Is what it's called? Yeah, Get on Gab. And so yeah, and they're made to um be free speech sites basically. And so there's literally no moderation of these, and so people will say whatever they want and spread misinformation to whoever they want.
Very tough when you've got obviously a president that's very, very controversial, and then it's their his supporters are very controversial, and
Yeah,
then
definitely.
it almost seems like overnight that just completely disappears. Well, not the supporters, but that administration, because obviously throughout election night it was it looked as though Trump was going to get in for a second time, and
It was very
then
close, wasn't it? It seemed very close to the start. Like when Trump got Florida, despite everyone thinking Biden was going to get it, it looked very close. But I think
Yeah.
as soon as obviously things with what states won it? Was it Michigan? No, I don't know. Pennsylvania. Was it Minnesota? No, it wasn't Minnesota, but it was like It was Pennsylvania. It was the swing states, that really decided it, and then made it. Yeah, Michigan. Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada.
Yeah.
All them swing states. They really decided it. And obviously Georgia was Democratic. Then I think that turned a close contest into an absolute, I wouldn't say landslide, but a pretty
Well,
comfortable victory.
well, basically, Georgia is a predominantly, yeah, I mean, Georgia is one of the states that was part of the Confederacy. And 90% of the time, if your state was a part of the Confederacy, you're also a, a red state, meaning that you voted Republican/conservative. Well, the thing is that Florida is usually a swing state, but Georgia is not. And so it's quite surprising that Georgia, you know, ended up turning out blue, along with other traditionally red states. The fact that Texas was looking blue at the very beginning was kind of shocking. But yeah,
I mean, Dallas was blue. So
yeah, a lot of times metropolitan areas, even in red states, turn out to be blue because we also measure the amount of votes in a county. So
Yeah.
90% of the time, big areas like Miami or Dallas or New York or anything like that will turn out to be blue even if the rest of the state is red. And that is evident in Texas. Another reason is there were there are a lot of people who don't like Donald Trump, but there are also a lot of people who do. And so basically, everyone saw this as sort of a battle, if I'm being quite honest. And so
Hmm.
that's why everyone showed up to the polls. Actually, let me change that. Republicans showed up to the polls. Democrats have a history of mailing in, and especially since if you're Democratic, you're more likely to take the COVID seriously, the coronavirus seriously, then you're way more likely to mail it in since you don't want to get COVID. So that resulted in a high amount of Democratic votes, a high amount of mail-in votes from the Democratic Party, plus a high turnout rate in the voting polls through um, Republicans. And it just caused a lot of controversy because they're like, oh, it's easier to fake mail-in votes, it's easier to do this, it's easier to do that, blah 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 blah. But the thing is that numbers have shown that this is actually one of the most authentic um, votes ever. You know, because of how many people voted in by mail, it's nearly impossible to. It's like really near impossible to um you know, fake mail-in votes because for those of you who don't know, the American voting system is very fragile. Like, to mail in a vote, you have to get an official ballot from the United States government, and then you fill it out exactly how they ask you to do it, block letters, black ink pen, or blue ink pen, etc. And then you have to put it into like three different envelopes. The first one is like a legality envelope, the second is the ballot, and then the third is your mailing. So you can only take it out of the mailing envelope, and then the ballot envelope is meant to remain untouched by the um and if you do anything wrong, if you use a red pen, if you smudge your pen a little bit too much and the results are unclear, if this or that, if if there's even a slight tear in your ballot envelope, your ballot will be discarded. And so it's very fragile, and it's very, you know, precise to vote in the US. So I personally believe that while the numbers are a bit strange, I don't think that that necessarily means fraud because let's be honest, a lot of people didn't like Trump, even Republicans. Even some Republicans don't like Trump. And so I genuinely believe that some people sacrifice their beliefs on things like abortion and immigration just to get Trump out of office. And you know what? I'm for it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That. I mean, it was It was a very controversial. I mean, it shouldn't really have been a controversial election, but yeah. But it turned out to be very controversial, and now it's
Yeah.
Let's.
You know what else is controversial?
Go on.
This tweet from Get On Gab.
Get on Gab, which we are going to move on to. Let's just
Well-
say,
Here we go.
if you use Wikipedia, you are a homosexual. Have you ever transferred money using PayPal? You are a liberal, you dirty liberal. You are a homosexual
Oh
liberal.
my god.
If you use YouTube,
Oh no.
despite the fact Call of Duty videos can lead you to Ben Shapiro videos, you are still a homosexual liberal. And you don't care about God. And you don't care about family. You don't care about the USA. You don't care about the nation.
Jesus.
You don't care about free speech. And you only...
Wow.
And you believe that there are more than two genders. Ever used Facebook?
Wow.
You know, a site that's mainly dominated by right-wing, you know, conservatives.
Yeah.
You are a homosexual liberal.
How dare you?
You use
I
Apple.
will say,
You use Apple. Guess what? You're a homosexual liberal.
Wow.
oh damn.
Basically,
I will say, watching Syndicate get to round 100 on Kino did make me have questions about God and the USA as well.
I know. I watched Mr. Dalek JD, and I thought, you know what? Maybe climate change isn't real. Do you know what I mean? Is
Yeah.
is climate change a real thing. You know, I even watched, you know, I was playing through the Call of Duty Cold War campaign, and all of a sudden, you know, I was searching up things about the Cold War on Wikipedia. Next thing you know, I was thinking whether, you know, gay rights should be a thing. You know what I mean? And I was wondering if I was questioning my own sexuality. Anyway, let me just... You're probably thinking, what the fuck are we on about? Basically, there's this picture by Get On Gab, as Abby said, a new social media site made by... I've gone burp again. Fucking hell. Made by... basically Trumpies. Basically, it's a kid sitting it's kids sitting at a desk. This kid sitting at a desk, and the
It's your kid, by the way.
Huh?
It's your kid, by the way.
Yeah, no,
As it clearly says.
It's your kid. This is your kid. You may have not had a kid, but it's your kid.
Yeah.
This is my kid.
Yeah.
This is Charlie's kid. This is
This is
Tom's
mine.
kid.
Yeah.
This is God's kid, right? This is Abby's kid, and we've not even had a child, right?
Yeah.
It's him sitting at a desk with all this these wiring and tubes going into him, and he's watching something through an Apple phone. I've just noticed that, and basically, it's saying, right, PayPal, Google, YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest, Wikipedia, Facebook, Apple, all feed into a homosexual liberal agenda that forces people to be liberal and homosexual, and also forces you to think that God, family, USA, nation, free speech, and the fact there are only two genders are all wrong things to think. I mean, I'm not going to get onto the two genders thing because I think it's pretty much proven that there's more than two. But that's onto another. That's not what we're gonna discuss. We're gonna laugh at how stupid Trumpies are, because I have never watched a YouTube video and thought, you know what, I think I like men. You know,
Yeah.
I've never gone, you know what, Mum? I was watching Syndicate, and he reached 115, and I just thought, you know what? What would his knob taste like? You know, it's I don't understand.
Just me, Jack's girlfriend, listening to this stuff.
Yeah, Abby's getting questions in her head. And just, Abby, have you never watched a YouTube video and thought, maybe I like women?
Perhaps.
Right, I'll cut that out.
I will say Pinterest did make me question God and free speech, as I looked at all the things on the... Oh, do you know what? That's a fun fact. I've never actually used Pinterest.
I have. I had to
Me
use
neither.
it. I had to use it in graphics design once. Once or
What
twice.
is-
Barely use it.
There's a fucking cat in my room.
Aw, cute.
What is Pinterest? Like,
Pinterest.
what's like...
It's basically just online mood boards where people put their work on and give you inspiration and that.
Yeah. My mom uses it for nail art, hairstyling, and recipes.
Yeah, and it was useful for me in graphics. It helped me get a lot of work done. But I've never used it and thought, you know what? Maybe, you know what? I don't know what I was going to say, but I've never used Pinterest and thought, you know what? Maybe progressiveness is the right thing for everyone. And, it's and we should eat the rich, even though Pinterest is literally owned by rich people. Like, all these websites that are on the fucking picture are owned by rich people. And quite a liberal thing to think is you've got to eat the rich. And I think it's a massive contradiction. And you know what? They said underneath it, this is fine. You know what? If this is fine to them, then let it be fine.
Do you know what I have noticed? That's even a bigger contradiction. I didn't see this or clock this the first time.
Go on.
You know where under wrong think it says your God, your family, the normal things you hate.
Yeah.
Free speech is listed as one of the things that is wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tweet has replies disabled.
Exactly. The replies were disabled on a thing
Yeah.
made by Trumpies who was trying to say that liberals think free speech is a bad thing, yet they've muted the fucking comments. And then we left quote, and you know what? The quote tweets are absolutely amazing. So yeah, the moral of that story,
ladies and gentlemen, is what I call a suppression of.
And the moral of that story is that Trumpies are fucking stupid.
I mean, I use an iPhone, so
You fucking communist.
Uh,
You communist using iPhones. Have you used PayPal? Exactly. Yeah. So there you go. I've used PayPal. That must mean I'm a communist. Anyway, we've got to move on to something else.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna lose brain cells just by looking at it. Anyway, moving on to the next topic. You know, we all have things that piss us off.
Yeah.
Right. You know, whether that's the person in the corner shop who orders about 20,000 lottery tickets or scratch cards. Whether it's the bus driver just skipping past you on a Monday morning.
Yeah. Potter.
Or whether it's Mike Dean and him trying to be centre of attention in a football match.
Yeah.
Or whether, you know, or whether you've just rattled a fan base on Twitter and they search up your Facebook and all that. Anyway, me, I was that person who rattled a fan base. Anyway,
Yeah. Same.
a new film has released by the singer-songwriter from Australia, Sia. Right. A new film called Music.
It's been labeled by The Telegraph as one of the most offensive movies ever, and that it is inspirational porn, and as well as getting more hate than Cats. It now has a worse tomato meter than Cats, which we all deemed was the worst movie. You know, but now apparently there's a new one that's the worst.
Yep, Music is a film released by Sia, I think last week. Yeah, last week. And basically it was, as Abby said, it's now been labelled as one of the most offensive movies ever to be released. And I believe this highlights problems in society and in the film industry that the representation of neurodivergent and disabled people is still a massive issue. Music, it takes us through a journey of a neurodivergent girl called Music. She's autistic. Presuming it's...
Wait, she's called Music?
She's called Music.
Wow, that's just lazy writing at its finest.
Anyway, judging by the film, she's got severe autism, which is something my sister has. And I don't know if anyone listening knows, but I have Asperger's autism. And so, if, you know, this hit something in me that it really pissed me off. And before anyone says, Jack, have you watched the film? No. So why are you going to judge it? Because I fucking can, and I've seen clips of it. And I've seen people break this movie down and put the scenes on. And it's... oh my god. I've seen enough. I don't want to support this movie. I don't want to give Sia or the production company my money. I don't want to give this my support, my money, or even my fucking time, but I'm gonna rant about it.
So I think first off we need to discuss the synopsis or the plot point of the movie. So basically, Music, who is played by Maddie Zelger, a neurotypical actress, which basically means that she doesn't have autism. She um her the act sorry. So the main point of the
Mm.
movie is that Music, played by Maddie Zelger, her grandmother dies, and then her half sister Zoo, that's ZU, um, is a quote newly sober, um, is quote newly sober, and is supposed to overtake role as caretaker, but surprise, surprise, she doesn't know how to take care of an autistic person, so she gets help from her friend, who is played by Leslie Odom Jr. And basically, it's Sia describes it as a love letter to the autistic community, that it's meant to involve Sia's um, two favorite themes, bringing people together and family and whatnot. That long story short, the main point of this movie is supposed to be a light-hearted, lovely film about autistic people and, you know, the love of family, etc. But it does not come off that way at all. The opening scene is Maddie Zelger with large braided ear defenders and darkened skin. Um, and yeah, and basically just doing very caricature type autistic movements, like tucking her lip above her teeth, um, twitching her fingers, jerking her head, etc. Jack will talk a bit more about this.
Basically, right. The thing is about this movie that's really pissed me off. There are a few things about this movie that's really pissed me off. Basically, obviously, Ari's gone over the main plot. Obviously, that's great. And Maddie Ziegler, Ziegler, whatever. I feel a little bit sorry for her because she supposedly felt really uncomfortable playing the role and didn't really want to make fun of people. She felt like she was making fun of people, and that gives me, and I have a little bit of sympathy for her. But what I don't like about this movie is the fact that they did originally hire an autistic actress, and to play Music, and they fired her because she found the film set, and I quote, too stressful and unpleasant. And the fact that you are firing someone who's autistic for finding the set too stressful and unpleasant, because that is literally what happens to an autistic person when there's something called sensory overload, right? The fact that they fired her for that is a massive fuck you to the autistic community. It literally undermines us. It's basically discrimination. It basically discriminates us because of our characteristics and I quote, flaws. It undermines us as people, and it actually just shows a lack of research and empathy from the production team. I will say that, granted, not all autistic people are the same, but we do all share traits and characteristics in one way or another.
Yeah.
For me, it's being socially anxious. It's having breakdowns. It's having, being in my own world, being very introverted. There are more, but in April, if this podcast does go until April, we will have a special episode dedicated to autism awareness.
Yeah.
Which, we're revealing that early. But
spoiler.
Yeah. But my point is, if you're going to hire an autistic actress but not do your fucking research, then you might as well not hire them.
Yeah,
But if you're going to hire an autistic actress, do your research. Do thorough research on how you can make the set nice for them, how you can help them, embed them into the set.
exactly.
Try and prevent them having meltdowns and feeling claustrophobic and introverted. Help them, make them feel comfortable.
Exactly.
You can't just hire an autistic actress and not do your research and then fire them for things that
Ridiculous,
they
mate.
can't deal with, because something they can't help because of their, I'm not going to say condition, neurodivergency, I'm guessing. Is that a word? That I'm going to say that because they're neurodivergent. It basically undoes anything about the fact that this movie tries to be inclusive.
Also, what doesn't help is the fact that Sia did gain criticism on this movie, and she was told exactly how hurtful this movie could possibly be. And she responded very illly, like very in a real weird way. She started attacking people. They're like, someone said on Twitter, I am an autistic actress. I have a hard time finding jobs. The fact that you instead decided to hire someone who is neurotypical instead of someone who is neurodivergent is really hurtful, and it prevents people like me trying to get a job. Sia said, and I quote, maybe you're just a bad actor.
Wow.
Fucking hell. I didn't know
That
that.
makes my
Anyway.
that makes my pick. It really
Is the
does.
point of the movie itself? Is it to spread awareness, or is it literally just been made to gain a different perspective of someone?
Right.
It's meant to be, and she said it's meant to be a love letter to the autistic community. And by the way, there's so much more. She said that she quote constantly had two autistic people advising her about it at all times. Yet in interviews, she's just said a lot of hurtful things overall.
Yeah, the fact that we're magical people who have powers, or was it something like that?
We're not the fucking X-Men.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I've just seen the
You
tweet.
don't have the force either.
Oh my god.
No.
Oh
Yeah.
fucking hell, I've just seen the tweet. Anyway, she was like, the fact that she calls us magical people. I've never once thought, I don't have telekinesis here. I don't have the ability to read minds. We're not the fucking X-Men, like Charlie said. Like, what do you mean?
No, Hogwarts Monday to Friday.
Exactly. I've got a fucking owl that delivers me fucking mail.
So, if I'm going to be honest real quick, this is kind of controversial, even more controversial than the movie maybe. I genuinely believe that there wasn't a neurodivergent actress to begin with. I think that Maddie Zelger, who has a literal contract with Sia, and she's played all of Sia's characters since Maddie Zelger was like 12, in her music videos. I believe that she had a contract and that Sia really wasn't going to intend to hire anyone else besides Maddie Zelger, which would make sense, honestly. It kind of makes sense to me because she has like this obsession with Maddie Zelger. But that's also another reason why I don't believe Maddie Zelger is the person who should be under fire. She was scared. She was terrified. She would cry and break down on set saying, I feel like I'm making fun of people. I feel like this is not right. But literally, at 14, 15 years old, when everyone else around you, all the adults in your life are saying, no, 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 sweetheart, you're doing completely fine. Everything's okay. Then you obviously keep going because everyone else is expecting you to keep going.
Yeah,
It makes you easy to sway in a way.
yeah.
Oh,
This is why I don't. This is why I have a bit of sympathy for her, because obviously, if if she turns down the opportunity to do this movie, because
people
you
don't
know
have to worry
of
about.
her morals, she has morals. It's quite clear to see that she has morals and she has empathy and she has knowledge.
Mm,
That the fact that she turns this opportunity from Sia, she'll probably never get to work with Sia again. And she's worked with her since 12 years old, I'm guessing, because she's been in her music videos like Elastic Hearts and Chandelier. Yeah. Basically, though, I'm just going to get into the nitty gritty stuff about the movie, like the details. There's a scene, like Abby said, where she's wearing earmuffs. And there's one scene in particular where everything's bright and colourful and noisy. Right? Is it the opening scene? The opening scene is very bright, colourful, loads of noise. It's like a dancing sequence. The one thing I have the problem I have with that is I'm looking at it right now. It's is it flashing? The strobing lights and all that. Like I said before, autistic people tend to suffer from sensory overload. That is literally what you should not do if you're going to make a film about autistic people. I mean, don't make everything black and white. Have a bit of colour in there, but don't make everything exaggerated. Don't make it too vibrant. Don't make it too noisy. It's it's called sensory overload, and I suffer from it. It's sometimes you just can't cope with it, and no wonder why this actress who was the autistic actress who was supposedly meant to play music found the set too hard to be on. And I also want to talk about the exaggerated sort of characteristics, the mouth gurning, the self-harm, the meltdowns. Although, yes, and the finger twitching and obsessive blinking. Yes, these are characteristics, but the way they were done in this movie, they were so over-exaggerated. I have an autistic sister who has severe autism. And I'm not going to say that she speaks for the rest of the community, because I know every autistic person is different from the other. And I feel like that's a point there. Not all autistic people have this exaggerated mouth gurn and all that. And it's just these characteristics, they were just so over exaggerated, and it makes me feel uncomfortable. It made people feel uncomfortable, and it's fucking hell, man.
I guess, like, in that case, the movie itself, it just comes across as really out of touch, because it's meant to, especially like if you're watching it from that perspective, it's like the movie's depicting you, what it believes you to be. So when you're watching it on a screen made by someone that doesn't have that experience, that is even neglectful to people that do have that experience, you're going to watch something that's very insufferable and very just uncomfortable to watch, especially when they try and like capture that, like, you know, that typical, like, stereotypical, like, tendencies that these people have.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's
The funny
I
is-
guess you could say it's cringe, really.
It is
'Cause it's just
cringe. I felt secondhand embarrassment, and so did this Daily Mail journalist who I was reading the review on. This is the one thing Daily Mail got right, believe me. You know, obviously, as I said, it makes me feel uncomfortable. I feel dehumanized watching it, and I feel like there was a lack of research. Yeah, go on. Anyway, I thought you were going to speak, but anyway, I thought it was a harmful representation, which can lead to misinformation. And these exaggerated characteristics are usually used by people to make fun of us. and other disabled people. It just
Yeah.
feels like
Exactly.
just felt like a vehicle of
Mm.
hatred, and I felt like I've sort of been picked on in a way.
Yeah.
Anyway, the meltdowns. There's two scenes in particular there where music has a meltdown, and this is where a lack of research comes. There are 3 meltdown scenes. Well, I found 2. I'm talking about the 2 meltdown scenes here. And the Guardian's approach to this, the Guardian's approach in the movie to this was genuinely horrible to watch. One scene, she gets carried over a man's shoulder. Again, signifies that she's some sort of burden, and that only makes the situation worse. But that is not even the worst bit. There is a scene where she has a meltdown in public, and Zoo, the Guardian, pins music to the floor. Okay, fine. You can pin an autistic person to the floor. That's alright. That may calm them down. Obviously, it doesn't work on everyone. But the way she did it, she made music look face down to the floor and led on top of her.
Wow.
This is a dangerous method and should never ever be used, because this has literally caused countless deaths in America. This method. It's lethal, and it can cause asphyxiation. Basically, you can't breathe. It was genuinely harrowing to watch. The only explanation for the scene I could think of was that the Guardians were not informed. But then again, why would you adopt someone without any knowledge? And the fact that there's been no sort of explanation and no sort of... And it was supposedly removed from... It was supposedly removed, but it was never removed, actually. Wait, Abby wants to talk.
So basically, they actually did make it seem in the movie that I watched the restraint scenes and I gave feedback to Jack about what I was. One of the meltdowns was literally caused by her getting stung on the hand, by a bee. Like,
Sensory overload.
yeah, basically. And I don't know, they made it seem like she was, I mean, I spoke sorry, I'm having a hard time getting my words out. But yeah, basically, they shouldn't have acted like they knew what they were doing, because in the film you get the sense that the actor, the person that Leslie Odom Jr. plays, is someone who knows what he's talking about. And he's actually the one who's told Zoo to actually do that method because he did it earlier in the movie. And see, the thing is that Sia claims that she was going to take it out of the movie, but the thing is that there's 3 of them. Yeah, she lied. They were still in the movie. That people were still able to access them. And Sia said, music in no way condones or recommends the use of restraint on autistic people. Well, then don't show that that's the only option when someone's having a meltdown, an autistic meltdown. Because, you know, I'm someone who has been living for several months with Jack. And so I've seen his older sister and I've seen her meltdowns and all of that. Never, ever have I ever seen or heard Maz, Jack's mom, to tell me or even Maz to do so to lay on Hazel when she's having a meltdown, because that isn't an efficient way. You don't do that. You only ever even consider it if they're a huge danger to themselves or other people. And honestly, what I saw in the movie was just a classic meltdown, was just sensory overload, was just things being a little bit difficult at that point in time. So they need to express their emotions in a different way than neurotypical people. And the fact is that that's all it was. In the movie, music was not a danger to herself or others. Sure, she was hitting her head, but everyone who knows autistic people knows that that can be something that de-stresses them, uh, physical stimuli as well. And while music may have been hitting herself in the head, she was not harming herself. And I feel like I feel like that's an important distinction to make.
Yeah, and I've got some statistics from the restraint thing, and apparently, obviously, more than 100,000 in the US were restrained or secluded in schools in 2017-18 school year. Over 100,000 people were restrained or secluded. 78% of them were disabled, and obviously, it's led to countless deaths. And these statistics are from ProPublica. I found these on The Mighty, which is a news website. Obviously, this shows a lack of information and education on neurodivergent people, and it shows that there's still a problem with information and representation of autistic and neurodivergent people. We need to help. We need to start educating neurotypical people and neurodivergent people.
Yeah.
So I want people listening to this. I want people on, listening to this. Please go and read up on autism, and I recommend using the National Autistic Society or Autism Society, who will give facts and help anyone who is looking to educate themselves on autism.
Yeah.
Sia has also worked with Autism Speaks, an autism awareness organisation who have caused controversy because they think there's a cure for autism.
Wow.
The fact that they assigned a high priority to do research into whether vaccines caused autism as well, and the fact that they compared autistic children one time to missing children. They just,
What?
yeah. This was one of their
What?
fucking. I found
Christ.
this in an article on the Forbes. So, and they just in general just dehumanize autistic people, and it just shows that it's still a massive problem in society that people don't fucking know shit about us.
Yeah.
My mum, right, has had to deal with me and my sister, right, but how she's done this? She's educated herself. She loved the challenge of having neurodivergent kids, so she's adapted and she's educated herself, and she's been nothing but a good mother to us. She's been a caring and loving mother to us, and so has my dad as well.
Do you want to know why? It's literally because they treat you like human fucking beings. They treat you simply as they're a human who has a disability, just like blindness, just like not having like a physical disability or anything like that. They've treated you no differently than your other siblings who are neurodivergent. It's neurotypical, sorry. They've treated you no differently than your siblings who are neurotypical, and they've treated you like human beings. Human beings, which is not portrayed at all in the movie at all. They make it seem like music is this somewhat other being or almost pet project for Zoo or something. It never sat right with me, and when I told Jack about it, he was in utter disbelief, just like y'all are.
Yeah, and just onto Autism Speaks. I will give them credit where it's due, because they've since changed their stance on whether there's a cure for autism and the fact that vaccines cause it. They've changed their stance on that, but still, that leaves a massive distaste in my mouth, that the fact they still thought that. And I will never ever let Autism speak for me. And I will link an article by a journalist from the Forbes in the description of the YouTube edition of the podcast, where you can read up on why Autism Speaks should not speak for any autistic person at all. Anyway, I just want to say that I feel sorry for Maddie Ziegler, obviously, to be put in that situation where she didn't even feel comfortable doing the the role, and the fact that um she couldn't really sacrifice her job to work with Sia because she has morals and she has empathy. But anyway, I feel bad for her, but I'm not going to bother watching this movie. I've seen too many clips. I find it harrowing, and it's very tone deaf, and it won't take my money at all, and it shouldn't take yours either.
Don't blame you.
The funniest thing to me, honestly, is the fact Sia kept saying, "Oh, I had autistic people tell me that this was okay. I had this, I had that. I had Autism Speaks helping me out for the past 4 years." Is how long this movie was in development. Also, $16 million was put into this film. Yet, it's extremely tone deaf. It's extremely misrepresented. It is just the opposite of what Sia made it out to be. And I don't understand how you can go that wrong when you claim to have autistic people and other neurodivergent, not only in the film but also at your side helping you out. I don't understand how you can mess up that.
Yeah, and if you watch it, if you're looking for anything about autistic people to watch, I recommend Atypical on Netflix. They have autistic writers, producers, and I mean the actor himself isn't autistic, but he plays the part well, and that's a good representation of autistic people in society.
Many
So
autistic
watch
people,
Atypical on Netflix.
yeah, many autistic people have spoken out about Atypical, and they have said while they regret the writer's choices about casting a neurotypical person as the lead actor, they do recognize that this is an extremely helpful TV show. Like many people have commemorated it on how amazingly it um it helps people, how amazingly it represents true neurodivergent people and real issues such as massive dynamics, family dynamic changes, and even Jack's mom, Maz, she's even said how awesome the TV show is and how it represents exactly how um neurotyp I mean sorry neurodivergent people are.
So yeah, Atypical on Netflix. It's on Netflix, so give that a watch. Anyway, yeah, so I mean I'm still gonna listen to Sia's music because I can separate the art from the artist, but I mean I'm not gonna bother watching that movie. So yeah, what do you two think? Because this is pretty much your first time hearing it in detail.
Yeah, well, I only knew briefly about it, like very briefly. I knew that there was controversy in it, but I'm not sure to the extent. And obviously now I know almost the full story. It's pretty damning.
Yeah, I agree.
The fact that I had to put myself through watching some of these films, some of the movies, scenes, I never felt comfortable. I'm eating right now. But...
Yeah, but besides that, obviously, on Rotten Tomatoes, if you're getting less than cats, then you gotta be doing something very wrong.
And I think the way Sarah's handled it as well has been truly horrible.
It's a victim of its like own purpose. Really, it's trying to be something that it's
not.
Mm. Instead it's doing the exact opposite. If anything, it's brought them together.
Yeah. I think the autistic community have spoken about this film. They don't like it, and the fact that Sia keeps shooting down. The fact that Sia keeps shooting down these criticisms and not handling it well.
No.
It shows she's very tone deaf and not educated. Anyway, we're gonna move on now to something a little bit more positive. Something that
Ooh.
happened to me just over I'd say 2 hours ago. I probably just say
Yeah.
probably just 2 hours ago. Preston North End player Greg Cunningham has not only is he an absolutely beautiful, wonderful human being for scoring against Blackburn, the man has just come forward and supplied me with an interview for my uni project, which is I've been struggling, which is just unbelievable. I've been struggling to find an interview for my uni project for a few weeks. I've emailed fucking loads of people in the past 3 to 4 weeks, and the fact that Charlie, Eddie, all my mates tagged him and helped him respond. Ugh, I can't thank you guys enough. But seriously, thank you so much. This has saved my ass. But yeah, what a wonderful man he is. I can't thank him enough, and there's a reason he's one of my favourite North End players, and I'm so thankful for him. So basically, this project I have to interview a sports person and get a hard news story from it. And the fact that I managed to get Greg Cunningham, a recent new signing from North End, and the man that just recently scored against Blackburn. I'm honestly so ecstatic. I can't wait to do this interview. I really can't wait to do it.
Don't blame you, mate.
Oh, I'm buzzing. I mean, my leg's shaking, but that's mainly excitement. But I can't wait for it. I mean, I'll talk more next week about the interview with him. I'm not gonna post any of the interview anywhere. I mean, I am going to be recording it as evidence for my uni, but the fact that, I will talk about it, about how he was, how what I asked him and that. He's truly a gentleman, and I can't thank him enough for doing this for me. He's really sorted me out, and it just shows that what a wonderful man he is.
Yeah.
Things are moving in the right direction at the moment. I mean, obviously we're only in our second episode of this, so as we said at the beginning, the reception to that's been great, and now obviously you've got the interview with Greg Cunningham. I guess it's been a pretty eventful couple of weeks.
Yeah, this week off has been. I mean, it's been stressful because I've been trying to find an interview, but it's paying off. It's paying off, and I've still got a shit ton of schoolwork yet to do. But you know what? This has been incredible for me. It's relieved a lot of pressure off my shoulders. I'm going to make sure this is the best interview I've ever done. And this is my first ever big major interview. I mean, I've interviewed Reese, another podcast host, who should have been on here today, but sadly he's not. I've interviewed him. He'll always be my first, but Greg Cunningham's going to be my first ever major one. And as a practicing journalist, that is unbelievable.
Big.
It's big. It's big. We're talking of North End player who played in the Premier League, who's played for Ireland. This is an international as well. I can't wait to do this. I can't wait for it to begin. And I just want to thank Craig Cunningham for allowing me the opportunity. Because it's not happened yet, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna talk to we're currently discussing it in DMs about when we're gonna do it, what's gonna be the what's the premises of it and all that. And you know what? I can't thank him enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You more than deserve that opportunity.
I mean, I've been doing journalism for the past. I've been practicing journalism since 2018, when I first got into college. And I'm now doing it at uni. I mean, I've really stepped up my levels since I started doing it, especially when I first started uni.
Yeah.
This is my first big interview, and I can't wait to do it. I really cannot wait to do it. What a man! What a man he is.
Yeah.
I don't mean to brag, but like I can brag
No,
about
no.
this because it's something huge for me.
It's a good thing.
It's a feel-good story, and you know,
Yeah.
he's a hero. He's an absolute hero for us.
Oh,
Anyway, that's something to end on a bit more of a positive note. Does anyone have anything else?
Hey.
Are we all looking forward to this weekend's football?
Um, I'm nervous.
Who Fulham got?
Just
Sheffield
obviously we
United.
haven't- Sheffield United.
I'm
think-
trying to see who we've got. We've got
think
Cardiff
If
City
we
next.
win this weekend, yeah, I think
If-
if we win this weekend, we have a chance to stay up. But if not, then I'm fearing the worst again.
Yeah. Anyway, we've got Cardiff City, a very good side at the moment, with Mick McCarthy as the manager. I don't know if I'm confident. I don't know if we're confident, but anyway, this is where we're gonna end the podcast. It's
Yeah,
been an
of
hour and a
course.
half. But yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. A little bit hard hitting in terms of topics. But don't worry, we'll make up next week. We'll make sure that next week's a little bit more light-hearted. Charlie just wants to say something.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
been not the most consistent on my end. I do have some connectivity issues that I'm trying to solve, but eventually, hopefully by next week, I should have that all sorted. And yeah,
So yeah, anyway, thank you for listening. Next week's episode should be a little bit more light-hearted, and hopefully we have something lined up, probably. But yeah,
Twitter personality.
put a personality. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. See ya.
See you next week.